this is the episode 6 of the Natural Born Growth Hackers. So last week we had my buddy Justin Doherty on here. We talked about, kind of like the steps to becoming a doctor and that whole space, and like what he's gone through and his background coming up, and the different things that he does. And we also got into a little bit about our challenge that we kind of pivoted towards for Division42, which was essentially moving towards the Web3 space. And I mean, the thing is, like, right now we're like in the forefront of, this huge transition from, Web2 to Web3. And what does that really mean? So I mean, you got to look in the past, like where has like these like things come into like being the way it is right now, and we're slowly but surely moving in that direction of the metaverse, and until everyone just realizes to accept that, they're gonna be left behind, I think. And that's why like me and Joe decided to go in this new pivot towards creating this like kind of like a unique aspect of the move to earn concept that's already out there. It already exists. Like, we're not by any means like just copying someone else like these other collections do for pretty much all the the collections that are essentially copying Bored Ape Yacht Club, for instance.
Yeah, the move to earn, I mean, talk a little bit about, in the last week too, how like some of them have started just to completely flop, and how we're kind of like differentiating and learning from those at the same time.
Oh yeah, 100%. So also too, like, you got to think about the tokenomics behind some of these projects for the move to earn, but what we're doing is so different and separate. Like, we're actually going to be providing utility to this kind of aspect that we're creating, and we're going to do it in like a really fun and cool way. So I mean, I'm sure everyone here has played Candyland growing up, right? It's a fun game. Like, it's probably the most simple concept game that you ever learn your entire life. Like, I played it when I was like 5 years old.
I don't know. Chutes and Ladders is up there.
I mean, honestly, Chutes and Ladders is a little more complex than Candyland. You're just going around in a circle.
That's true.
But basically, we're going to be creating this different version of, obviously, you're not copying Candyland. It's going to be completely different, but we're going to create a Move to Earn app where you're going to be designated into different teams. So it's going to be like an individual and also a team aspect for earning points and rewards through this caloric burn that you're doing throughout the day. Or that just be walking. Like, you could freaking walk, 60 miles a day if you wanted to. You're going to burn a lot of calories, obviously.
You could honestly just walk around the block. As long as it gets you up and active and you're not just sitting all day looking at a screen. Just something to get you out there where you're just like, you feel better. I mean, even if you're outside at all, just getting the sun on your skin just feels better in general.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole aspect with Division42 is, putting that physical aspect to help yourself improve yourself, not just physically, but, mentally. That's our whole goal here. And this project that we're creating, we wanted to fund basically free and equal access to the entire globe to, fitness classes, yoga, meditation classes, different things that we're going to be able to do with like this kind of like, fundraising seed fund that we get from this NFT project that we're going to be launching. But honestly, I don't even like to call it NFT project. I want to call it more of like our Web3 like Division42 challenge, which is called the challenge. Like, that's totally fun. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating an NFT that you can purchase, on the blockchain. And if you buy this NFT, you're going to get access to our first round of the challenge. And you're going to be designated, it's all going to be randomized. In the future, we're going to do like probably cool competitions where you can like sign up with, your coworkers, things like that, and do like your own separate challenges. But for the purpose of this inaugural challenge that we're creating, we're going to be doing basically all focused around, team activities and improving yourself through this move to earn concept, which is going to be just tracking your calories that you burn throughout the day. And that could be, anything like Joe said, like walking, running, going to the gym, getting a lift in, whatever gets your heart pumping and your heart beating. It's going to show us that, you're burning calories, and we're going to be able to track that based on all your metrics that are on, whether it be your Apple Watch or your Fitbit. We're going to have different ways that you can integrate with the app that we're creating, but you're going to be the first ones to access this first version of our challenge. And the community is going to choose the size of this challenge. We're not just going to create like a collection that has like the potential for whatever amount, like however many people we get to join our Discord, that we're going to start marketing in the next few months here, that's how we're going to decide the size of this whole challenge. And really the growth hacking behind this is the whole aspect of, you know, building that community and letting them democratize like what we're doing. Like the ball is in the community's court. Like we want them to choose the direction that we're going to be going in. And let me like kind of explain to you like the whole Candyland aspect, because it was kind of confusing the way I said it. The Candyland aspect that we're putting in is like your character is going to be moving along like this game board essentially, and it's still going to be we haven't decided the exact parameters of it yet, but we're thinking a 60-day challenge, like we previously discussed. But now obviously this new Web3 pivot, and the farthest character to get along the game board you go, like that's going to be like the final winner. And there's also going to be the team aspects, whatever team, you know, burns the most calories and gets the farthest along the board as well. And there's going to be weekly rewards, all cash back, like just, you know, like giving back to the community and for your hard work and your progress throughout the challenge. Those are the different like kind of aspects. And like let's say for example you are going along the board and you complete 10,000 calories in like a few days, right? You're gonna get a chance to roll dice, and depending on what you roll in those dice, like you could end up, you know, going forward, or you could go back to the beginning. It's gonna be a fun concept game, and we're excited to see like how people react to it, and also like how the different teams are able to cheer on like everyone that's part of it. But I think it's going to be a really cool and innovative way to, you know, like challenge your friends, you know, have them join with you, like see they're on red team, they're on blue team, whatever it may be. Everyone's going to be pushing each other because at the end of the day, like human beings are competitive, and we would love to get athletes involved in doing this whole challenge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd be perfect for athletes. I mean, everything's competitive at the end of the day. You want to win something, you want to win some money, you know, you want to be the best that you could possibly be, you know, and get a workout at the same time.
100%, and we're going to put some kind of aspect into the more people that you're able to bring into the challenge, like referring wise, you could actually get paid for it, and you could earn your spot for free in the challenge as well. So let's say, you know, you bring 10 people.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, but we're making our own community members. At the end of the day, too, it's kind of like a DAO as well, but let's not get into that right now. Let's
keep
just
it simple.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. But yeah, so that's kind of like the new direction that we're going in right now. We're excited to see how everyone reacts as these, you know, months progress. I'm doing way too much right now, and I just had this conversation with Joe. I need to put I'm in building mode right now. So I'm probably not going to be starting like the actual growth hacking and marketing for this for, I would say, 2 weeks. We're still building everything out. Like we want it to be absolutely perfect when time is ready. We're gonna start focusing on that. Like, but right now my time is really into build mode, and I've not been doing like growth hacking, you know, operations that we had talked about previously. I did some LinkedIn stuff last weekend, but it was strictly to you know, gain more connections in the space and do a little bit for my current project as well, for just outsourcing some resources that we're doing. But
I think that kind of ties into our next point though a little bit as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, there's a lot of books that I have read over the past 3 years, and there is one book that, you know, I hold very dearly to my heart, because I wish I would have, you know, been introduced to this book prior to like I learned about this book literally about a year ago from someone that was part of the Domi Station Accelerator, this mentor, and
that was the one at Florida State.
Yeah, that was the one at Florida State. So the book's called The Right It. It's by Alberto Savoia, and essentially he created this like step-by-step guide to conduct quick, easy, and affordable experiments to test the viability of business ideas. And this is through like collecting data on how your new product idea may be received by the market, and you can dramatically improve your chances of success through this method that he essentially created, which is The Right It. I'm not going to get into like the nitty-gritty stuff of it. I just want to talk about like more of this concept that he kind of like created through the failures that he experienced as an entrepreneur himself. And Alberto's someone that, like, he came from Italy in, like, 1985. There's a big background, anyone can look it up, but he talked in the seminar that was given in Stanford a few years back. I think it was maybe 2019, so 3 years ago. So if you happen to know who this person is, he's very big in the the entrepreneur space, but he's learned so much from his failures, and that's the thing too. Like, he never started off failing. Like, he had great successes right out the gate. He started one of his first startups. He sold for $100 million. That was before he even went to Google.
That's crazy. Imagine selling a startup for $100 million and then decide, I'm gonna do another startup.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what these people do. I mean, look at the the PayPal mafia. Like, a book that I'm gonna recommend, that I want Joe to read next. I just got him onto the Lean Startup, but we'll talk about this book probably in our next 1 or 2 podcasts. But it's 0 to 1. It talks about basically the come up of Peter Thiel, and we're going to get more obviously into details down the road. But another great book that I read that really helped me as an entrepreneur and getting started. And regardless, The Right It is another amazing one that I wish I was introduced to before. And like, the whole concept of The Right It is, make sure you're building it right before you build. Make sure you are building the right it before you build it right. And like, what does that mean? Like, what do you think that means?
I mean, you got to think that, like, you can have the best product or something, but if nobody wants it, it's completely worthless at the end of the day. You got to make sure that, like you said in the beginning, that the market is there for that product. Like, I don't know, let's say you go to, like, let's talk about football. Like, you're selling football tickets in, like, Italy, like American football tickets in Italy. They don't care. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the right market for that product.
Yeah, and there's different, obviously things that can affect why something fails and why something succeeds. A lot of people go back into timing, and I think it's an excuse, to be honest. But regardless, though, like, there's so many different factors that play into the success of any company, and let's be honest here as well. Like, most companies are going to fail. Like, that's just how it works, especially when you're getting to like tech and software, and where you're trying to have someone like adopt like a new way of doing something.
Yeah, you're number one, you're extremely disruptive, and number two, like, people always are afraid of things they don't know. So you're already up against the wall as it is.
Exactly. And like, that's something that people don't understand as well. It's like, you can give like your own concept and your own opinion on certain things, and you could think that, like, wow, like, meeting in person, it seems so much more easier. But when you go to execute a plan like that, like, there's so many different factors that play into why it wasn't like such a huge success, and like, people are like, oh, that's a great idea, why hasn't it been done yet? Well, I mean, it's been done a million times, it's just it hasn't been done right yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been executed correctly or marketed to the right market segment.
Yeah. So I mean, also too, like, I want to come out the gate and like talk more about, like, I am honestly not even an entrepreneur yet. I'm really not. Like, I have not succeeded as an entrepreneur yet. I was part of a tech startup when I was young, right out of college. I made some money doing that. I learned. That's where it like really got me, like, my feet wet, sort of say. And I mean, I have made money. Don't get me wrong, but I'm honestly, I don't see myself as an entrepreneur yet. More of like a wantrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur, and that's why I'm taking these different steps. And I'm trying to like turn that into something where, okay, well, now I'm doing all these different things, and it's time to see some execution and return. So I've been learning. I've been in my bat cave and doing things. I was part of 2 different accelerators, but I'm doing all these things because, like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to, like, do these different podcasts. I want to gain, traction. I want to, get customers from the different things that I'm doing. And like, I mean, honestly, Joe's more of an entrepreneur than I am at this point right now. I mean, he's crushing it at real estate. But regardless, though, like, if you want to become an entrepreneur, just like I want to right now, whatever phase you are, whatever step you're in, like, there's different things that you have to like do. And I think, like, honing in on someone like Alberto Savoia and like what he taught me with The Right It, like, read that book. It's a short book. You can do it in like I think it's like a 6-hour read, or less, maybe, honestly.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
I haven't read it in a while.
Book and knock it out in like 3 workouts.
Yeah, exactly. You go to the gym, just turn on Audible. You know, like it's really not that difficult. And this is one of those things that like I wish I would have read this before, because, you know, maybe I wouldn't have built a dating app that, you know, right now like I don't know what to do with. Like there's different things that like I would have done differently. You know, and if I would have read that book like, you know, 3 years prior, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here right now having this growth hacking podcast. Like, who knows?
But at the same time, I mean, you got to think at the dating app, at the time it did sound like a good idea, and like you didn't know what was going to happen. Plus, think about all the things that you learned from it in terms of growth hacking.
Oh yeah,
100%. Towards other businesses.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, a lot of the topics that we discussed on this podcast so far are from that. I don't look at it like that as well. Like, I don't regret on things in the past at all. And again, like, Dive, I don't think Dive was really a failure yet. It could easily still be executed to some extent, but...
And it's still so young in relative terms. I mean, yes, it was a couple of years ago, but it's like,
yeah,
there's so much you could do now, especially with Web3 coming up with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we'll get we'll get into that soon as well. But we had this whole Dive access pass that we're planning out to do as well. And again, like, there's too many things that are I have too many baskets is what it is.
Too many baskets, too many hats.
Yeah, and like, honestly, focusing on getting one thing done correctly should be anyone's goal as to become an entrepreneur. Because until you do succeed that first time, until you are, you know, not worrying about like how you're gonna pay your bills, you know, like that you're pretty much considered an entrepreneur, I would say.
So let's back up. Do you think that entrepreneurs should only focus on one idea and one thing, or do you think they should try a couple things at once, or how do you feel about that? I mean, there's books that say like you should literally only do one thing.
You know my answer to that. I mean, you should only do one thing. It's just that's not who I am. That's not the person I am. And I do too many things.
This, but I'm not gonna do
but I'm doing one thing right now. You know, I'm focusing on.
But it's just like, I think that kind of ties into that aspect, because there's a lot of people out there who are very similar to you in that aspect, except they don't have some of these things like as far along as you do. Like, you have Dive already established somewhat. You have the Equality Project already established.
Yeah.
Division42 is really the only one that's kind of at that ground level compared to the other ones. While other people have like 4 things that are exactly like Division42 where they're at the ground level, it's just like, you're kind of paralyzed.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree. And like, I think as entrepreneurs, like, we want to do like everything, you know, like we see an idea, we get sidetracked, and that's the thing too, like, you shouldn't get sidetracked, but Web3 completely sidetracked all my plans, but I think like for the better, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned so much, and you know, we're at the forefront, we're at the front lines right now of basically paving the way towards the trajectory that, you know, we're gonna go as humans, and how we use technology. And essentially, the way that I see Web3, it's like we're very lucky to be this early in this stage, because eventually, like, I think we're all going to be like, you know, our lives are really going to consist of the metaverse to some aspect. I don't think we're all going to be like wearing, you know, virtual reality headsets and jerking off to everything.
Well, I don't know about that one, but I think everyone could be wearing like. I think they're going to come out with headsets soon where, like, I mean, obviously they're going to be giant.
Yeah. I don't think
they're going to be like mixed reality.
I mean, there's just going to be like some kind of synergy with, you know, the metaverse and our real world life. But I just like the actual utility that it comes in with the blockchain traceability, like, you know, like all these different things. And
yeah, there's a lot of aspects and a lot of jobs I think they're going to be kind of disrupted once it does come out and come to fruition. I mean, like, the first one I could think of is a title company for houses. I mean, just in real estate, like, you don't need a title company anymore if the deed to your house is on the blockchain. Like, everything is right there. You can see everything that's going on.
Yeah, and I'm already seeing that. I already saw like a few houses that created their own NFT version of that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, so if that's the case, like,
it's a cool concept.
You know, bye title company.
Yeah.
But they could just create NFT versions for those houses. Like, maybe that's going to be the future of title companies, you know?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, that's the way, if you're a title company, to pivot into this next realm, because I mean, a lot of people aren't going to know how to make it or do it, and that's definitely an opportunity to capitalize on, especially right now with everything being so new. I mean,
yeah, but going back to like doing more than one thing at once, honestly, focus on what is going to basically fund your project that you really want to focus on, you know. I mean, if you have access to like some, you know, boatloads of capital because, you know, you're lucky you came from a lineage that, you know, has been involved with, you know, entrepreneurism and venture capitalism, like obviously,
advantage
take advantage of that. But most people, like myself, like my mom's a pharmacist and my dad's, a retired Navy commander. Like they don't know what the fuck I'm doing. They think, oh yeah, he's on his computer all day long. Like they don't really like understand that I'm doing these things. Like I'm busting my ass. I'm working hard. I'm taking courses. I'm trying to learn new things every day. I'm studying. I'm reading books. Like I'm always trying to learn something new. But I'm also like using that into like real world application of trying to grow like the different ventures that I'm starting and I'm thinking of. And it's really hard like to be an entrepreneur because I think it's something new all the time, and it's like, okay, well, I need to just focus on what is in front of me right now.
It's
because
shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna fund those other new concepts that are like coming to my mind. And I think that is the most difficult thing with being an entrepreneur. It's like you're the idea guy. You get all these ideas coming to you every single day. People call you up, they tell you a different idea. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Now you've wasted so much time. But regardless, these different ideas are going to be funded from the actions that you are taking to fund those other concepts. So if you just execute on that one thing, that one idea that that you're good at, maybe you're a salesperson, I just got into this like whole agency concept, and I like helping small businesses. I like helping NFT brands like, build audiences. I'm good at like marketing, and I'm starting to like, gain traction like that sense. I started my own agency based on like the Natural Born Growth Hacker name that we created for this podcast, for example. And I'm still in the early stages of that, but I think this is going to be something that's really going to, fund my war chest of creating capital to put back into the things that I know that I'm very good at, which is, building audiences, building communities, and, creating like that FOMO and executing on these things. Because if I had, $1 million, I know exactly what I would go and do with it right now. But unfortunately, I don't have $1 million right now. And I want to create that war chest of capital so I'm able to go out and do those things. And every single venture that I'm doing right now, like, has the potential to disrupt on some aspects, especially the dating aspect. I think that has the biggest potential to, disrupt a multi-billion-dollar industry. That's why I decided to get into that in the first place. You want to let her in real quick? But The Right It is just an amazing book that I think everyone that whatever stage you are at, whether it be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, should read and learn and study, because it's going to help you like basically distinguish whether or not people actually want what you are trying to build. Because you know what? Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your energy. Don't build like he wasted in the book. One of the examples was his first company that failed. I think they got funded $25 million total dollars between 2003 and 2008. It was a software company that everyone was talking about. They all loved it, and then when it came to like really sell that software and have people purchase and buy it,
they all disappeared.
It was crickets. Yeah, like that's because why? Because it wasn't the right it, and that's what he talks about in his book. And I mean, there's so many studies that you can do to kind of like prevent that failure from happening, and fail fast. Like that's another thing that it's going to teach you to learn is fail fast, learn from your mistakes, and move on. Maybe there is a version of that concept that you're creating that is correct, that is right, but that version that you figured out through the experiments that you were testing, and like also too, like he gets a lot deeper into the concepts in this book, but for example, like some of the things are driving traffic to a concept that doesn't exist yet. Like he basically creates like a fake window shopping. Actually, one of the things, yeah, one of the tests that he ran, which I thought it was hilarious at the time, but it was creating a bookstore, like saying like bookstore right here, like, and having a sign basically that like in an empty building, and people come to buy books, and he just does it just to see if people are gonna, you know, come and actually try to purchase a book in this store that just popped up out of nowhere. And if he finds out that, you know, they had like 20 customers come into the store that day because they saw a sign, that's the green light, you know, like maybe that's a good place for a bookstore.
It's good. I mean, it's a good way to do it, and that's kind of him testing, finding that right at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's a very basic version, obviously, for anyone involved in tech, but it's just like the fundamental that he's trying to teach is, you know, test things to figure out what actually is the right it before you go and build it, because you're gonna waste so much time and energy
and money.
Yeah, especially. Well, money, like, you know, you can just go make more money, but time you can't get more time back, you know.
Exactly.
And that's where, you know, regret comes in, but it's not regret in my eyes. I think everyone learns from their failures, and I mean, I know I have. I've failed too many times to count. But I mean, I'm still here. I'm still grinding away. I'm still hustling. I still want to become an entrepreneur that's, you know, successful, hopefully very soon. But it's not about being hopeful. You know, it's about executing, and, you know, just continuing that grind every day, because eventually you're going to succeed at something. I promise you that much. And I'm doing all the right steps, and I know Joe is as well. And
we're gonna get it. It just takes time. You gotta be patient.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about growth hacking. But yeah, so honestly, anyone that's been following these podcasts, I guess homework, I would say, read The Right It. It's a great book. If you haven't read 0 to 1, you know,
we'll
build, measure,
0 to
learn.
1 too, because we're going over that next week.
Yeah, so we'll go over 0 to 1 next week, and then I guess the top 3 books right now, if you haven't read them, are The Right It, 0 to 1, and The Lean Startup.
Yep.
And all these different methods are gonna, you know, help you get from point A to point B faster and more efficiently. But that's all I got. You want to add anything to this week's podcast?
That's really it. If you haven't read The Right It, go ahead and read it. And we're definitely talking about 0 to 1 next week. So if you don't even want to read it, just listen to it. Just find some way to be learning all the time.
Yeah, and give us some concepts, give us some ideas to talk about. And we're going to be having some cool people on some future podcasts coming up. So get ready to learn more about all things Web3, all things marketing, all things growth hacking. By the way, growth hacking, you know, you could use that for anything in your life, whether it be lifting, you know, eating right. There is some kind of method to getting from point A to point B faster that you haven't thought of, and it's going to be free if you really put your mind to accomplishing something to a better extent. But take care. That's it. We will see you next week.